Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of SNEED-CAST. I'm your host, I'm Alexa. We're here with our VP of Sales and Marketing, Ken. You guys might have seen him on a couple of our live demos, as well as across our series. Today we're going to be talking about the 5 indicators, that'll help you kind of let you know when you have to start moving out from your outdated processes. So starting off, when we're starting a business, you've put a lot of time, money, effort into planning it all out, but have you really thought ahead, especially when business starts to ramp up? But we kind of want to know, what codes help us meet those regulations when you're trying to break into the retail space?
Yeah, so, we get that a lot here. A large portion of our customers are going to be small to medium-sized businesses. A lot of companies that are starting, we get a lot of craft brewers and mom and pops making grandma's jelly and Tio's hot sauce, and they're selling it at farmers markets. And then, they never really intended to get into consumer packaged goods and full retail distribution. All of a sudden they get popular, they start getting word of mouth, and they're growing. And then it's like Kroger comes knocking, or HEB comes knocking, or who knows, and we want to try your product in our stores. And then all of a sudden it's like they have all these compliance things. You got to have a lot code on there, you got to have a batch code on there, you got to have a born on date, when was this produced, what's the expiration date. And we have these conversations with folks that are just kind of, man, they're just in it they love their product, they love grandma's jelly, and they just want to spread the joy that grandma's jelly spreads. And then what are these date codes, So we get a lot of those conversations in terms of, what do we need to print? It's a matter of sometimes it's based on the local requirements, state compliance requirements, but a lot of times the stores too have their own requirements. Walmart is known as being one of the most stringent, coding and marking, product identification requirements for everything that goes through their supply chain. So, and we kind of have a wide assortment of different, equipment and printers that can meet a lot of those things. Of course, all the usual stuff, batch codes, lot codes, date codes, are all standard functionality. And then we even have more advanced systems. They can do ERP integration for more traceability and things like that. So we really got things covered all the way down from the ground level. And then when you get into really, massive distribution and supply chains.
Right. So you mentioned sometimes these mom and pop shops, they're not really familiar with our date codes, lot codes, all of our traceability codes. But why would you say that retailers and distributors are so strict when it comes down to this information?
It's a matter of, especially when we're talking inside the food space, it's FIFO, first in, first out. It's a matter of spoilage. So especially distributors and grocery stores, they want to make sure that stock is being rotated, and they got to have dates on there to be able to rotate that stock. So they want to know what time, how old is the product, how much shelf life does it have left, and they manage that real tightly. The most successful, big stores out there are always making sure they can't be selling spoiled product to their customers. So that's one of the main requirements. And then lot codes and batch codes especially. We've all seen stories on the news about recalls, Bluebell years ago, but I feel like it's every spring there's an E. coli breakout somewhere in the spinach industry. So those batch codes are really important to be able to, they use those to say, okay, which batch code was affected by this recall, whatever the contamination may be. They can look up that batch code, who bought from, where do we send this, what distributors have this batch. They can send out that message to their supply chain, to their customers. And then, of course, sometimes we even see it on the news. Hey, if you have eggs with batch number XXXXYZ, whatever that number is, so the consumer knows that if they may have bought that product, that they want to get rid of it for whatever reason. So those are really the main ones, for those types of traceability purpose, and then rotation of stock inside the supply chain.
Right. So now that we have a better understanding of why, this information is so crucial, we also know that a lot of our customers start off with, stickers, or they're applying information using stencils, or maybe they're even just writing it down. Why is it so important to maintain a level of uniformity?
Well, again, all that information is vital for the reasons I stated, but that means it also has to be legible, and it has to be readable, and it has to be there. So you want to make sure that it is being consistently applied to each package or product that it's required on, whether that's the primary package, the actual ketchup bottle, or if it's the secondary package, the box that it ships in. There are different requirements for each in terms of what needs to be printed on there, but you got to make sure it's something that's consistently being printed on there. We talked about our small to medium-sized customers, but even our larger customers, and throughout the wide consumer packaged goods space, one of the top reasons for downtime in production facilities is inconsistent coding. and inconsistent codes, whether it's equipment failure or improper specking, improper installation, where all of a sudden you can't send on a batch where only every other ketchup bottle has an expiration date on it, and when that happens, all of a sudden now you get into all kinds of things in terms of now you got to repackage it, you got to recode it. And so you want to make sure you have something that you can rely on, a piece of equipment that's going to sit there, that's going to get the right information on there, it's going to print it consistently, and something that you don't have to worry about. Now, different reasons can cause that. Again, like I said, it could be an improper installation. It could be the wrong technology for the particular equipment or the way they're running their application. So it's important to have the right technology in place based on what you're trying to accomplish, the type of package, the type of machinery you're working with. But it could also be, again, like your original post talked about, outdated processes. It could just be a machine that's older, and it's been through the, if you got an 85 Chevy, a couple 100,000 miles on it, eventually you might need a new car. It could be the same as, it could just be that printer is outdated and has met the end of its life, and where you just need to look at it from a perspective of what's the right piece of equipment to take over and take us to the next step.
Mm-hmm. When we're first starting off a business, we're used to like smaller volumes. We're used to maybe like a couple of hundred unit orders a week. But obviously, when production starts to ramp up, or when demand starts to ramp up, keeping up with those productions is super important.
Absolutely, yeah, and that's again where it ties into having the right equipment for your needs. You may start off with something. Again, our smaller customers that we like so much and love hearing their stories of everything they've been through. They'll start off sometimes with one of our handheld coders, because they're manually filling their salsa jars, or they're manually filling their sauce jars, and so of course there's no production line to have an inline date coder. So there's where you have a handheld, but then all of a sudden you get that boom, you get that big pop. Now we got to start getting, we got more volume, we got more product going out. You're doing something manually, you can only go so fast. And so what is that next step? What's that next piece of equipment that we need to get in to be able to upgrade scale our production to meet that demand? And that can sometimes be a tricky, it's a chicken before the egg thing, and it can be very challenging for a lot of small businesses in terms of cash flow and investment. You got lots of different pieces of equipment. So you want to be able to have something that is within the budget, that can allow you to continue to grow, that doesn't hamstring your growth, but then also meets those capacity needs and is able to kind of grow with you. So it's, each step of the way as that business is growing or that production is growing, you want to have something that kind of matches the step that you're in terms of your capacity.
So it's not just production and volume that are growing, but it's also your product lines. And obviously with new product lines, there are new types of packaging that you're dealing with. Mm-hmm. And of course, some of your outdated processes might not be able to handle those new types of packaging. So what would you advise for?
Yeah, that's, so on that, lots of different things can come into play here, right? And one thing that I see a lot, even within our co-packer community, we have a lot of co-packer customers, contract manufacturers that are packaging on behalf of some of the smaller customers that don't have their production facilities. And so, but when you have that situation come up, you have different customers with different types of packaging. Mm-hmm. So customer ABC, they might have some white bags with some graphics on it that you need to print on. But then you have a customer XYZ, they have black bags. Right. And normally you would run them on the same production line, but obviously you can't print with a black ink on a black bag, and you can't print with a white ink on a white bag. With other technologies, you may have to have two different systems for those different types of packages. One of the advantages of some of what we offer with our thermal inkjet is that you can change colors. So you have that flexibility of being able to switch colors in and out. If you need to go from a black to a white ink, you can do that in a matter of seconds. It's very simple. Trying to think of other types of size of print can obviously sometimes come into play. Sometimes you need to print smaller or bigger. We've seen customers that have been able to utilize our equipment both on their primary packaging and their secondary packaging, because of the size of the print head allows them, when they need to, if they need to print a really small character, they can print something really small on their primary packaging. And then if they need to print something larger on their secondary packaging, they can actually utilize that same equipment to print on that. So sometimes being able to have a piece of equipment, especially a date coder, at that stage of growth that can do different things for you and fit different parts of the production process, sometimes you have to kind of as you're making it up to that point where you have dedicated lines for each, then it's nice to have equipment that can have that flexibility and versatility.
Alrighty, so thank you for that information, Ken. But we know that sometimes our customers have more questions, more concerns, or maybe something from this presentation resonated for them. You can always contact us or find us on our site, SNEEDcoding.com, or you can also contact Ken.
Yeah, give us a call. I'm on the phone sometimes. Our number is 833-926-3464. I have my entire team on there as well. Our technical support staff sometimes will answer questions. So if there's something you're not quite sure where you're at in your stage, or you know where you're at, but you're not sure what the right solution is for the challenge you're faced with, give us a call. We're happy to have a conversation with you. No obligation, just share some of our insight and knowledge with you. And if we don't have the right solution for you, a lot of times, sometimes we might be able to point you in the right direction and say, hey, maybe this is a technology that's a better fit for you. But again, if you do have those questions, you do want to have that conversation, give us a call, 833-926-3464. That's our 800 number. You can also send us an email and schedule a time, and we can set up a virtual call with you. You can email us at sales@sneedcoding.com. And Alexa, thanks for making some time for me.
Thank you for all of this great information, Ken. And that's it for this episode of SNEED-CAST. Like always, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and hit that notification bell down below to stay up to date with all of our great content. If you have any topics that you'd like to see us talk about here on the show, let us know. Bye, guys.